Subscribe to Gizmo Times and get notified about our latest videos by hitting the bell icon.
Hey guys, welcome to Gizmo Times. So this is Chetan and this is the Infinix Hot 7 Pro. This is the latest phone from Infinix and this is priced at 10,000 rupees and it has the Helio V22 chipset. Along with that it has a dual lens camera combination on the front as well as on the back. And we're going to do a quick comparison here with the same company's phone, that's the Infinix S4 that was recently launched, and you can clearly see that it has a triple lens camera combination on the back while both the phones have the same chipset. So what are the major differences? Firstly, with the price, there's a 1,000 rupee difference between the two, with the Infinix Hot 7 Pro being priced at 10,000 rupees while this one is priced at 9,000 rupees. Although there are differences in the internal specs, that is the RAM and storage, but there's no difference with the processor. So let's start with the design first. The clear difference here is with the back plate that is given here. It's a metal unibody design on the Infinix Hot 7 Pro when compared to the plastic back on the Infinix S4. Again, it's totally based on your personal perspective on preference on what you would like to have on the back, because this is called the aqua blue and this is the standard blue with no gradient and no change in shift in colors. It's all the same from top to bottom. On the other side, the Infinix S4 has that plastic back, but it has the nebula blue option where it's bluish on the top and going towards the black when you go towards the bottom. And one difference you can clearly see here is that there are quite a lot of smudges and fingerprints that are registered here after some time of usage. So that's quite a clear case with the glass bodies or plastic back bodies, because there's always those fingerprints and smudges that are placed on the back. And on the other things that are present on the back, the fingerprint sensor is present on both the phones. The camera combination seems the same on both of them, but the placement is the same, while these are the plastic areas for the antenna reception, and otherwise it's all the same here. Now moving on to the different ports that are given on both the phones. The bottom one here is the Infinix Hot 7 Pro, while on the top is the Infinix S4. There's no difference in what is offered here. There's a speaker grill, the micro USB port, the microphone, as well as the 3.5 headset jack. It's the same on both of them. On the right are the buttons, the volume rocker button as well as the power button, and on the top there's actually nothing on both of them. So one similarity here is that there is no secondary microphone on both the phones, and there is no better phone one than the other in that aspect. And on the left is the SIM card tray where both have the same thing, that's the dedicated microSD card slot along with two nano SIM card slots. Now moving on to the front of the phone, there is no difference here as well. Actually, with the size of the screen, it's the same 6.2 inch screen that is given on both the phones, but one clear thing that you can see here is that there is a wider notch area, and it's similar to how it was in the phones back then in 2018 because of the presence of the cameras on the front. But here the entire notch is used up here, firstly for the flashlight, then there is a dual lens camera combination with a 13 megapixel plus 2 megapixel camera combination, and also there are sensors present there. So in a way that notch actually serves you some purpose, and that is why there shouldn't be a lot of complaint in that aspect. On the other side, let's talk about the Infinix S4. It has a dewdrop notch or the water drop notch on the top, which is a tiny notch, and that makes the display actually look better than on the Infinix Hot 7 Pro. But the difference here is that the Infinix S4 has a 32 megapixel selfie camera on the front compared to the 13 plus 2 combination on the Infinix Hot 7 Pro. So for selfie lovers, this obviously should be the choice because of the 32 megapixel camera that is present here. And towards the bottom of the phone, the chin area you see here is almost the same on both the phones. There's no difference that way. The difference lies only on the top of the phone, where you have the wider notch on the Infinix Hot 7 Pro compared to the S4, though there's the dual lens camera combination as well as the flashlight support that is given on the Hot 7 Pro. So for a more practical usage, it should be the Hot 7 Pro, but for actual better selfies with a higher resolution, it should be the Infinix S4 with that 32 megapixel camera. With the OS that is given here, it's exactly the same XOS 5.0 based on Android 9 Pie, so there's no difference that way. But let's talk about one aspect where they actually differ, that's the internal specs. Although it's the same processor, that's Helio P22 that is powering both the phones, there's no difference in that way. But for a 1,000 rupee difference, you're actually getting 6GB RAM and 64GB storage on the Infinix Hot 7 Pro, which is quite a major difference. And you have 6GB RAM, 64GB storage, of which about 53 or 54GB storage was present for the user to use, and also 4.5 GB of RAM was available to the user after a fresh reboot. So that's one major difference. For a longer term usage, for better RAM management, you actually should be looking at the Hot 7 Pro when compared to the Infinix S4. Now let's check out the same specs for the Infinix S4 as well. We'll also show you the benchmark scores after this, but for now, first let's talk about what is offered. So there's 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB storage for 9,000 rupees. So for 1,000 rupees, let's say you are actually getting much lesser amount of RAM and storage here. But what was surprising here was the benchmark scores. This is the Infinix S4 that we're talking about right now, and for the S4, what you see is the benchmark score of 74,956, though it has 3 GB of RAM and 32 GB storage. On the other side, let's open the same for the Infinix Hot 7 Pro that has 6 GB RAM, 64 GB storage. So that is in a way surprising that we got not a huge difference. It's a difference of about 5,000 points, and that could be attributed to RAM and storage. That is a clear case of difference here. That's 75,000 versus 80,000 points in both the phones. So the Infinix Hot 7 Pro has a higher score, but not so high, and that difference is only because of the fact that it has a higher amount of RAM and storage. And for the benchmark scores, that is the Geekbench score. Again, there's a little difference here, where again the Hot 7 Pro is a winner over the Infinix S4. So with that, you can clearly see that even though it's the same chipset, the internal specs do matter, the RAM and storage do matter, and that is where the Infinix Hot 7 Pro has better scores, and it is actually better in that aspect. Now the battery life is another important aspect, and that is where there is no difference between the two phones. The Infinix Hot 7 Pro also has a 4000 mAh battery, while the Infinix S4 has the same amount of battery capacity. But also with the charging speeds, it's 10-watt charging support that is given on both the phones, with the micro USB port towards the bottom. So with the battery and the capacity as well as the charging speeds, there's no difference. With the technology that is offered for the charging, that's the 10-watt charging, that is the same on both of them. The chargers that are given in the box package are the same. With the Helio P22, even the optimization of the battery should be the same, so there is no difference that way. And the display also is going to drain the same amount of battery, because it's a 720 to 1520 pixels of resolution with the HD plus, that is the resolution given here. So there is no difference in that way. Now moving on to the last aspect of the comparison, that is with the camera combination that is given here. Firstly, it's a triple lens camera versus the dual lens camera combination on the phones, and with the quad flash that is given here, there are 4 flashlights on the Infinix S4, while it's a dual flash on the Infinix Hot 7 Pro. Now let's talk about the actual cameras there. There's a 13 megapixel primary camera with the f1.8 aperture, with an 8 megapixel wide angle camera on the Infinix S4, and there's a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. On the other side, the Hot 7 Pro has a 13 megapixel f1.8 camera with a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So there is no wide angle camera, which could be one major disadvantage for the Infinix Hot 7 Pro over the Infinix S4, which has a triple lens camera combination. On the front, there's a 32 megapixel camera for the Infinix S4 in comparison to the 13 plus 2 megapixel combination here, and the 2 MP here is for depth sensing, and that is why we feel that that should be actually helping out the users a bit when taking the shots with blur in the background. That's portrait shots. So for portrait selfies, the Infinix Hot 7 Pro could be a better option, but for someone who needs a better resolution, it's actually the Infinix S4 that is doing a better job because of the fact that it has a 32 megapixel selfie camera. So this is the rear camera on the Hot 7 Pro versus the Infinix S4. There won't be a lot of difference, but one difference that we can clearly see here is with the wide angle capture that is possible on the Infinix S4. So this is the wide angle camera that is present on the Infinix S4, and that is not possible with the Hot 7 Pro. So that is one major difference. Again, with the selfies, as said, there is no flashlight for the Infinix S4. There is a flashlight support given on the Hot 7 Pro, and the resolution should be better on the S4, while it's lesser on the Hot 7 Pro, but there is the possibility for better blur shots. So this is the quick comparison of the Infinix Hot 7 Pro versus the Infinix S4. Both the phones have their own set of features and uniqueness to offer, and there is face unlock and fingerprint sensor on both of them for the security of the devices. But in a way, to clear it up, if you want a better selfie camera, it's the Infinix S4 over the Hot 7 Pro. But if you want a better blur on the background, that is where again the Hot 7 Pro should be better than the S4. And for a longer term usage, for better RAM and storage, it's the Infinix Hot 7 Pro over the S4. And for a wide angle camera, which is important for some users, The S4 has that wide angle camera and the Hot 7 Pro doesn't have one. So those are the major differences between these two phones. I hope you like this video. If you do, do share and subscribe to Gizmo for more. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video.